What's up, folks, and welcome back to Dyce Reacts, where we are staying in Australia tonight. Oh yeah, we are going to be checking out 10 road rules I'm sure tourists break in Australia. Very much I checks one out. We ain't going to waste no more time. Just going to get right into it, folks. We're going to get right into it. Oh yeah.
When I first moved to Australia with my UK driver's license, I honestly thought I'd be absolutely fine. I'd been driving for years, I'd logged loads of kilometres, I was very confident. So when I arrived in Brisbane, I got in the car and started thinking, how different can it really be? And that confidence lasted up until the moment I realised that there are these 10 things that no one warns you about when driving in Australia as a tourist. They don't warn you when you land, they don't warn you when you rent a car, sometimes they don't even warn you if you search it up on Google. So that's exactly why I created this video, so you can learn from my mistakes. Because if you're driving here assuming your instincts will save you, then this first situation is especially important for you. Number one, not knowing how to do a hook turn. In the UK, back where I'm from, I've never seen a hook turn in my entire life, and it's not something they teach you in driving lessons at all whatsoever. So when I first encountered one of these, I think I was actually in the passenger seat, and I said to my brother-in-law, what on earth is that? That's not right. So a hook turn, otherwise known as a two-stage turn. So a hook turn is a traffic move where instead of turning from the right lane before you get to the traffic lights, you actually move into the left lane and then you drive out into the hook turn area, not, driving over any foot crossings at all. Don't worry, it does look like it's in the middle of the intersection, but you're meant to be there. And you turn from there once the traffic lights have turned green on the road that you're entering in, if that makes sense. Now you might be thinking, this is crazy, why does this exist? Lots of my Aussie friends actually avoid hook turns like the plague. When I've been in the passenger seat with them in CBD of Melbourne, they will actually turn the opposite direction if a hook turn is coming up. Now, once I understood why they exist, it clicked for me, even though they do look a bit scary. It's basically so they are for the flow of traffic, for safety, so you don't get in the way of trams crossing the intersection, and so everything can move without, crashes happening. Now, at one point, Sydney, Newcastle, South Australia, and Victoria all had hook turns, but they either switched to centre turns or got rid of them altogether in the 20th century. But understanding how to do one and why they're used doesn't stop your heart from pounding the first time you experience it. But after that, you will have built your confidence. It's like doing your first ever driving lesson. It's terrifying, but once you get a few under your belt, you start realizing, I can do this. Now, if this video is helping so far, hit...
Yeah, that's the first time I'm hearing hook turn. I don't think we have that here now in my country. I'm guessing the bigger countries have it, but like you said, it's been going in many different cities right now. So I'm guessing this is something of the past. But I understand it's for the flow of traffic, but I don't know, it looks like it's gonna cause a lot more accidents, especially with those kind of crazy drivers on the road. So I can understand why people may avoid it based on just the way that it looks. I can't blame them, because I would too. It just looks, I don't know, especially on the weekends. Nah, man, I'm avoiding that because where I'm from, the drivers we have on the road on the weekend, when everybody having a good time, a few drinks in the system, I'm definitely not going to take this hook turn. Definitely. I ain't going to be hooked at all.
Can do this. Now, if this video is helping so far, hit that like button so other people can see it. Number two, not using the left turn lane properly. The first time I pulled up to a big Australian intersection, the one with all the different lanes, my brain did a little 90s computer error sound because I had no idea what was going on. The thing is, everything looks familiar in Australia, especially as a Brit who already drives on the left side of the road. It's easy for me. And yeah, I felt like I was about to fail my driving exam in front of a load of strangers, even though I wasn't taking one. But I realized very quickly that in the UK, yes, we would have a left turning lane to turn left at a big intersection, but it's not its own little lane with a sort of dividing island like you can see on screen. It's just part of the 3 or 4 lanes already, pointing straight forwards, and you just turn around the road. But if you did that in somewhere like Brisbane, it would be a big no-no. Once you've driven down the correct left-hand lane at a big intersection, the first couple of times, you'll be like, oh, this is the best thing ever. This makes way more sense. And I think we need far more of these back at home, because oh my word, it makes life so much easier. Number 3, you need to drive on the left side of the road. Now, while countries like the UK, Australia, and Japan all drive on the left side of the road, a lot of Americans find this absolutely crazy. But regardless of whether you think we're wrong or right, you need to drive on the left side of the road because that's the law. Now, this might seem like a bit obvious, but you don't quite realize how difficult it is when you come from a country driving on the opposite side of the road.
Now, I'm not much of a driver. I don't even like driving. I'm never was someone else interested in driving, period. And I used to always say it must be weird coming from a country where you have been in that country for like 40 years, 30 years, driving on one side of the road and going to another country, driving on the opposite side of the road. I personally, I don't think I would actually drive myself in that country because when you have second nature kind of habits, something like that can certainly get you X'd out. I mean, sometimes it's a mistake that you cannot come out from. So this is very, 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 very risky to me. I mean, you would have to at least get someone to drive you. If he's planning on living in the country for a few years, I would say until this things breaks out of your second nature habit. But my, I've never really heard, I've never seen a video. I think I'm gonna check it out after to see if people that have transitioned to a country where they have to drive on the opposite side of the road struggle after even years of being in that country. I want to hear actual stories because I thought of it, but I never thought about checking up to see if people have said it online. This is very interesting, and I'm glad he pointed that out.
It takes a lot of quick learning, building that muscle memory rapidly. I've actually mentioned in a previous video about unspoken rules that tourists break all the time in Australia. Aussies love to walk on the left side of the path as well. So remember, in Australia, drive on the left side of the road, walk on the left side of the path. Honestly, if you're that worried about driving on the left side of the road because you're not used to it, watch a few videos of Australians who filmed a point of view in, their car. It will just get your brain used to seeing that, feeling it a little bit more. But don't worry, after 30 to 60 minutes of driving, it will start to feel very, very natural. But it did make me wonder how many near misses that some tourists have without realizing they're even making these mistakes. Because number 4 is not using a roundabout properly. Again, as a Brit, I'm quite smug because we adore the roundabout in the UK. It's our go-to intersection, it really is. Now, some people mistake these cute little circular junctions for just merging generally into the traffic when they see a gap, even if there's traffic coming from the right, even if someone's pulling out from the right exit. Do not do this. The golden rule with roundabouts is you give way to the right. If there's a car about to pull out and go around the roundabout on the right, just stay where you are. Don't go yet, otherwise an accident will happen. Do locals follow this rule every time? Absolutely not. But I have heard from some Americans and Canadians, they think they can just sort of slowly ease in. If there's oncoming traffic coming around the right, they'll just slowly push in and hope no one crashes into them. Don't do that. And while roundabouts aren't as common in Australia as they are in the UK, you almost certainly will encounter one with your first time visit here. But anyway, another life-saving tip is number 5, not checking over your shoulder when you change lanes on the motorway. This one genuinely surprised me, right? It seems like common sense, but this wasn't actually taught to me when I learned to drive in the UK. Admittedly, I come from the cute little Cotswolds town called Cheltenham, so it's a lot of countryside driving, so not a lot of motorways there. But when I was the passenger with my Australian wife driving me here in Brisbane, one of the first things I noticed that whenever she would change lanes very safely on the motorway, she would always check over her right shoulder. Now, this is for a couple of reasons, but one of the main reasons is to check your blind spot, that your wing mirror might not actually pick up and show you that there's a car in that lane. You can also check over your left shoulder if you're changing into one of the left lanes as well to do the exact same thing. But I'm really grateful I've got this muscle memory of checking over my shoulder now, because it's something that I will always do in the UK. Number 6, thinking in miles, not kilometers. Let me tell you a little story. I moved to Australia completely for love. I fell in love with my Aussie wife on an acting job in Japan. After 2020 to 2022 happened and we both had to move back to our separate home countries, I was desperate to see her, but the borders weren't open to tourists yet. As soon as they were, I I booked that flight immediately. I flew within like 3 days of booking the flight. I was so excited to see her, but I did zero research in Australia. I get there, she picks me up, and all these signs are saying like 50, 60 for the speed limits of the road. And I thought, what, you guys drive 60 miles an hour down this lovely suburban road? She goes, no, it's in kilometers, you silly boy. And I thought, oh no, what's a kilometre? But I nearly became that tourist, the one that everyone complains about. Oh, he's constantly talking in miles. Why can't you just use kilometres like a normal person? Because on a residential road in somewhere like Brisbane, you'll probably be driving 50 kilometres. If you don't check your speedometer while you're driving and you start going over that, you could be absolutely speeding. And also it takes 2 seconds to just Google what state you're in, what city you're in, what the general speed limits are for certain roads, and usually there will be signs to tell you. And once I consciously switched my thinking to kilometers and not miles, I felt so much calmer driving and so much more confident and intentional. But this next one is another thing you definitely don't want to forget. Number 7 is driving without your driver's license on you. I'll admit this one feels slightly...
A lot of people still do that where I'm from, like they don't have the driver's license on them. And this should be almost like a second nature thing. Don't leave the house without your driver's license, especially if you're always on the road. I mean, that should be a given. You should always have it on you. You just never know what you might end up in. You know what I mean? So just always have it there. I mean, you don't. Some people may let's leave it in the car, whatever they're driving, which is, I won't say it's wise, but at least try to put a muscle memory. But it's something people do, and some folks, they don't have the driver's license on them because, you know what, it's expired, and they're gonna say it's at home. They forgot it at home, but one way or another, it's gonna catch up to them at some point. Yes.
Inconvenient, but it's super important. There are some countries and some states in the world that, you know, don't expect you to drive with your driver's license on you, but Australia, the majority of the country expects you have it on you at all times when you're in the car. Now, it's important to mention that in Australia, whether you should be physically carrying your driver's license on you or not completely depends on the state or the territory you're in. Some could fine you on the spot. Others might give you a grace period to turn up to your local police station to present that driver's license. Some states even accept digital IDs as you carrying your license on you. But there are a lot of state differences, so quick fire. New South Wales, South Australia, Northern Territory, Tasmania, and Australian Capital Territory, you have to have your license on you when driving, otherwise you'll get a fine. Queensland, you have to have your license on you when driving if you're a learner or provisional driver. Western Australia, you need to drive with your license to avoid a fine, but you're given a grace period to produce it at a police station if you didn't have it on you. In Victoria, very specific rules for who has to have their license on them, e.g. if you're a learner driver, drivers under 26, and many more, so go do your own research on that if you're going to be driving in Victoria. But honestly, if you can't be bothered to go through all of that, just make sure you never leave home without your driver's license wherever you are in Australia, and you'll be absolutely fine. Number 8, ignoring wildlife hazard signs. If you know anything about Australia, you know that Aussies really care about their ecosystem. They really love their flora and fauna. They love their wildlife. We know this because visitors get in a lot of trouble if they start touching wild animals. It's just not okay. So while you might be having loads of fun in Australia, going on your adventure, exploring all this gorgeous country has to offer, you need to be mindful about the wildlife that could start crossing the road at random times. Now, a lot of roads put up special road signs to warn you that there's, you know, potential koalas in the area, kangaroos, things like that. But honestly, if you're driving in Australia, just assume that there could be some pretty sizable animals trying to cross the road at any point in time, even if you don't see one of these hazard signs. There's all sorts of stories out there about people's cars getting written off because they hit a kangaroo and they were speeding, and there can be some really, really fatal accidents as well, so you've got to be really careful. And the first time I drove at much lower light in the countryside in Australia, you feel this quiet alertness because not only do you not want to have an accident, but you don't want to hit an animal. Oh my word. And it made me think about how the respect for wildlife here, it's not just some, fun slogan you might hear in a commercial. It's very practical. It's very real. So I know this all sounds very serious. I'm not trying to be like an overprotective mum, but really look out for those wildlife hazard signs. It means that area could have a particular density of that type of animal. You don't want to hit them, you don't want that on your conscience. Number 9, not checking state-specific road rules. This is where my confidence dipped a little bit. I felt like, oh, I've got to do all this homework about all the different states and all the different road rules, but actually it's much easier than you think it is. Before you visit the chosen state you're going to be visiting, just Google online, and that state government, I'm sure, will have a web page that you can have a look at from other states. And no one really warns you about this until you're already here, especially if you're coming from a foreign country. You might have some relatives that have visited Australia before, but they're not going to think to go, oh, check what state you're going in as well. The road rules are different. Yeah. They're not even going to think about that. They're going to be like, oh, pack your sunscreen, make sure you go to the beach. But this next tip is particularly important for all you adventure drivers out there. Number 10, under preparing for the Outback. The Outback isn't just a little holiday town that you can just pop into and pop out of. It is vast. It goes on for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of kilometers, and it is extremely hot. You need to make sure that you're packing plenty of food, plenty of clean drinking water, plenty of fuel, and then anything else that your car might need. Also, make sure that you're driving in an appropriate car to handle Outback terrain. You're going to be having to do a lot of hairy driving, right? So if you're slightly worried that your car can't handle it, go get a 4-wheel drive. You'll feel so much just more confident. Also, make sure that you tell people where you're going. Tell your loved ones where you're going. Tell maybe a tour guide or your accommodation where you're going to be, because there's a lot of dangerous stuff that can happen in the Outback.
Definitely, he gives some tips there. And I must say, like I said, Australia really care about their people. I've always said that, but they really care about the animals, because I don't think anywhere in the world that I've seen, maybe like in a enclosed place like an amusement park or something, you could find different signs warning people maybe like to be careful with the speeds or something of that nature, like animals are around, so you got to be careful and take precaution driving. But when it comes to like just driving in Australia, where there are several places where they put signs of different animals you might encounter crossing on the road, not just for the individual's safetyness, but also for the animals, preserving the animals, their well-being as well. I don't know if there's any other country that has that on like just normal roads, where to prevent accidents and protect the animals as well from those roads. Yes, and the Outback, I mean, come on, if you have a 4x4, Jeep, and then you just want to go and just do some off-road, the Outback is certainly perfect in Australia to do that long type of trip / camping. But again, as much as it's beautiful to do that, it's also dangerous at the same time if you're not equipped. Yes, just like when you see images of like certain mountains, certain deserts and stuff like that, it looks beautiful. Especially if you right there, or in a video, you see it's such a lovely view. Even the oceans, some parts of the oceans, far out in the oceans, it just looks so beautiful. The sun is up, the clouds right there, the breeze blowing, like you could feel it even through a video. But at the same time, if you're stranded there, it's a nightmare. So it's a beautiful nightmare, the Outback. So you got to be very careful. Like I said, be equipped, be careful, and make sure you have the right equipment with you so that you could come back home safely to your loved ones. Yes, this was very interesting as always from him. I'm going to be checking out more from him. If you want to see that long run action that I do, hit me over on Dyce Reacts, where I do music reactions. This is where I'm going to be making my exit. Until next time, peace out.